one student who said perhaps the principal
And so
may have been shot.
Yeah.
We don't
Which
know
we're
that.
still
We
trying
have
to
not
verify.
confirmed. Absolutely.
Exactly.
We have not confirmed that, but Erica said that at least a couple of students have said that to her. We do want to go right now to Micah Hatfield, and Ted, if you'll just hang with us for a minute. Micah is one of our crews there on the scene. Micah, what can you tell us at this point?
Well, we're standing here on the corner of Hiram Clark and Anderson, where many parents are standing around here. They're all waiting to see their students. Some of them have one of their students. Some of them don't have any. Everyone we've talked to said that they have talked to their student, though, and they are safe. But that is not really much comfort to these parents at this point. They're FaceTiming the students. They're on the phone trying to figure out where that student is, and they are just devastated. We're seeing a lot of students come out with tear-stained faces. Obviously a very traumatic experience that they've gone through today, and we have such limited info. They're still trying to piece together what exactly it is that happened. But one of the students that we were able to speak to told us that they just did an active shooter drill in the last couple of days, and who would have ever thought that they would be using what they practiced a couple of days ago this week. Now, you are looking at the we're able to see the front of the school. Yes, Prep. There is a Houston Police SWAT vehicle that just pulled up a couple of minutes ago. A lot of law enforcement here right now. The sheriff's office is here. The Houston Police is here as well. We have several ambulances, fire trucks, a very, very active scene here. But, you know, it's just it's people frantic trying to see their students again. You know, I heard one woman saying, I drop my child off every day in the morning and I just tell her I love her, and you know, those words just mean so much more right now when they're separated, knowing that the student has just been through something so frightening. But fortunately, like I said, a lot of these people out here tell me that they have made contact with their student. They're just trying to get reunited right now. I'm going to send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Micah, that really helps, and certainly helps kind of define the scene there. We still see so many emergency vehicles running hot, as they say, with lights continuing to flash. But how,
like
and
entire family together,
exactly.
So I'm sure they're relieved to be with each other at this moment.
Absolutely. But perhaps the most unnerving thing of all that Micah said was that they just had a drill within the past couple of days of what to do in a situation like this. The good news is the kids, this was fresh on their minds. They knew exactly what to do. The sad news is that they have to have those drills at virtually every school that we know of around the country, and certainly in our area as well. But yeah, as you mentioned, Maida, you can just see.
You know, early on when we first came on air, students running out with their hands up. Right now it seems like they may have been able to control the situation a little bit more than what it was. Since we do know that the suspect is in custody, according to police.
And what I'm struck by is everyone has a phone. Every single person has a phone, an iPad. They're trying to FaceTime their children. They're trying to reach them. And Ted, if you're still standing by, maybe just a little bit of a reflection. We can remember that Columbine really started all of this probably 2 decades ago now. At the time, no one could have ever imagined a shooting at a school with a number of students and teachers being killed. But they also didn't have the advantage of cell phones and being able to have some immediate contact with their loved one to get some sense of what was happening. And I don't know if Ted is still there.
I think it's a double-edged sword on the cell phone, Mel. I think that, yes, certainly some immediate contact. I think that God protect the mothers and fathers whose kids' battery died this morning. I think the instant communication can be great, but it can also be a curse if you can't find your kid. I just, as you asked me to reflect, I think about this just 2 nights ago at the dinner table. Our 7th grader was talking about school shootings. It has been a part of her life forever. We talk about Columbine as if it was sort of a marking point, but for kids through high school, school shootings have been a part of their DNA since they could walk. And I think it is such a tragedy that loud noises and trigger kids to move in towards this sort of well-rehearsed routine, that school lockdown drills have become such a part of this, and gosh, it is just, my heart breaks. There are never the right words for this. Even in an instance like this, where thankfully no students were hurt, the simple fact that kids know exactly what to do when school shootings visit their campus, I think is the worst part of this, that we unfortunately see way too often. Way too often.
Ted, you described it perfectly, though. For a young student, their entire life, they've heard of shootings at a school. Their entire life, you know? That's tough. You can only imagine what it does to a young child, or if they have fear that something like this would happen on their campus.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got 3 daughters, all teenagers, if I remember correctly, Ted. And not only is it school shootings, it's church, it's the movie theater, it's the mall. There is always the sense for so many young people that it could happen. It could literally happen to them where they are.
And even just, as he was saying, for students, yes, you hear a loud pop. Even for me personally, you know, we've covered a lot of different shootings and instances and whatnot, but sometimes when you do hear a loud pop, you kind of get triggered, you freeze up.
Exactly. You're immediately looking over your shoulder.
Exactly. We know Erica Simon has been standing by. Ted, were you going to say something?
No, you're fine. You're fine. Let's go to Erica.
Oh, okay. Well, we were going to listen to your final thought, and then we'll go to Erica.
I think for teachers as well, Mel, I think what we've heard from so many of the eyewitnesses, and I would imagine Erica has as well, is that teachers and adults in school, the helpers in these school campuses, are truly heroes in moments like this. Whatever it is, they immediately know what to do, and you can't imagine what it must be for them to try and calm down a group of 22 kids who, in those moments, want absolutely nothing to do with calming down. But certainly, thanks to any of the adults inside that school this afternoon.
Yeah, such a great point, because we heard several of the students say their teachers immediately rushed them into the classroom. And as you say, Ted, you know, hit the floor, turn off the lights, pull down the blinds if that's possible, and try to be as invisible as you can be. We want to go back out to the scene and talk to our Erica Simon, who's been there almost from the beginning here. Erica, one of the things that Maida mentioned a moment ago was it appears that things have calmed down a little bit. Are you getting that sense?
Did we lose Erica?
Yeah, Erica may not be able to hear us.
That's right. Things aren't as hectic around me, and you may notice that when I first got here, it was straight running and crying and a lot going on. Can you guys hear me? Hold on, we're going to work to get back. Can y'all hear me? Yeah? No? Are we good to go? Can you guys hear me on our end?
All right, yeah, Erica, we can hear you. We have
we're
to get
good
our
to go.
mics turned
All
on.
right, guys, obviously this is live television. We've got equipment that's been moving around. It's raining as well, so we're trying to keep things dry. Thanks for bearing with us. But as we were... Okay, good. And I was saying thanks everybody for bearing with us at home. It's raining out here. A lot of moving parts. Our materials and gear are moving around as well. But yes, Mel, you're absolutely correct to your point and your question. It is a little bit calmer behind me. That is the good news. There's not a lot of frantic running by me like it was earlier. I wanted to get out of the way, though, and show you what we are seeing. A lot of the students and parents have been moved down the street here on Anderson Road. They've been kept a ways back from the school. And I just got a little bit of information from an HPD officer. She says that when we saw the tactical guys go in with the fatigue and the rifles and the helmets, they were going in to clear the main campus. That's the phrase that they use. They're now working on the 2 smaller schools to make sure that is clear and that any and all active threats have been eliminated. I'm told once that is done, then the students who are left here outside, whose parents did not come, will then be taken back to the gymnasium. They're going to try to debrief them, calm them down, make sure they're okay, assist them with any needs that they may have. But that is the next immediate plan. As you know, we are, of course, expecting a briefing from HPD and Police Chief Fenner. But from this aspect, that is what is going to happen next, because yes, there were a lot of parents that came out here, but some still didn't have a ride and weren't picked up. So from our vantage point, we're still behind the police tape, but not as much frantic running. I want to see, Fran, can you turn around? Is there a way you can turn around here? They are bringing out some of the medical equipment. As you can see, that's a gurney there, and thankfully nobody's on it, but all precautions were taken here in terms of medical personnel. The SWAT team did go in. That is what you saw with the camo and the gear. We also did just see a SWAT truck go by as well, but they're still active back there, making sure that each and every part is cleared. The students who are walking by and going back towards campus, they're a little bit calmer. They're telling us that they're okay. And as the good news here this afternoon is that thankfully all the students are okay. We of course are waiting to confirm the reports that the students told me, but that's what we know so far. I want to see, let me see if I can hear. What you're seeing is a group of students down there. HPD's talking to them. They're saying something I can't hear. Sounded like chanting for a moment, but anyway, they've got them gathered down there, and hopefully they're talking to them and kind of trying to let them know what the next steps are as well. But I heard you, Mel, and Myra both say that it's a shame that this is kind of where we're at with these young students having to expect shootings almost, or at least not be surprised when they happen. I got that same aspect, and you have to remember, just 6th, 7th graders, I mean, they're young, and all they know are those mass shootings that they see on the airwaves and see young people who are fleeing from their school. So we hate that for them, and the good news is HPD did let us know that they do plan on working with the staff here and making sure that these kids are assisted and have everything that they need psychologically and get through the rest of this day, guys.
Erica, I don't know if you can see those huge crowds behind you. I know you're at some distance and the camera has the advantage of being able to sort of zoom in. But there's a huge crowd of people back there. Is that the staging area? Is that West Fuqua and Hiram Clark?
Well, Mel, I'm not sure if you just heard me a second ago when I was saying that the crowd behind me, from what I could tell, this is a group of students and maybe a couple of parents. HPD is keeping them back. I hear them saying something. I don't know what they're saying. Hopefully Fran, my photographer, is zooming in to kind of get a little bit more clarity, but they're telling them something, and they're kind of being kept at this corner. I'm not sure what street. Fran, do you know what street that is down there? Is that Fuqua? Or do you know? Okay, I'm not sure what exact street that is, but yeah, that's a group of students and parents that you're looking at, Mel. And they appear to be fine. They appear to be listening to what the officers are saying. There's been a couple of them that have walked back towards us past the camera and have gone back towards the school. You can see, looks like a
looks like we may have lost Erica Simon. I know we were having some technical difficulty issues or whatnot, but we just got a new statement here from Yes Prep. So we want to read this to you guys, that way you're well informed of the latest updates.
Yeah, police on campus, Yes Prep says, with a suspect in custody. That's what we've been hearing after opening fire from the school's front entry. Now that pretty much tracks what that student told Erica a short while ago when he said there was blood and shattered glass there at the front. No students were involved in the incident or were injured, which is great news for a lot of parents out there. But an administrator was transported to the hospital. We don't know much more than that. Students have been transported to West Fuqua and Hiram Clark, where they can be picked up. Please do not drive to the school, they're asking. Roads are blocked by the Houston Police Department, and we saw that just a moment ago. There was nowhere that you could go at that point if you're driving. Literally, those streets around the school at this point are being blocked off. But we're hearing an administrator was injured. We don't know who that is or how badly that person was injured, but we do know they have been taken to the hospital at this point.
Well, thank you for joining us again here. We've been trying to give you guys as much information as we can that we know about the shooting that happened at Yes Prep. Now, we do understand that Chief Troy Finner will be holding a news conference shortly, so we're standing by for that. Obviously, he will be able to give us more details and hopefully some context into this entire unfortunate incident. But again, one suspect in custody, no students injured. All we know is that, yes, one administrator was taken to the hospital.
Well, and you can definitely see that much of the relief on parents' faces and students' faces at this point, things seem to have calmed down a lot. Ted Oberg is standing by in his office. He is staying on top of a lot of the stats and kind of the scene that we see here. And Ted, as we look at these pictures, there is a real sense that kind of a release valve has been opened there, that a lot of parents and students are clearly while, obviously terrified on a Friday afternoon that all of this happened, at least there is a sense that none of their classmates were injured, and perhaps that is a great relief both to parents and students.
I think it would be to my wife and I, and certainly to our daughters. I think the question now is, how many of these kids have seen things that now shape the rest of their school experience? If in fact it's happened at the front door, and that one 7th grader eyewitness that we talked to just a half an hour ago or so by now that described seeing shattered glass and blood on the floor, that's an awfully hard thing for a 13, 14-year-old boy to process and to see. And then what we hear is they're expected to go back to school if their parents haven't come to pick them up. I don't know how you do that as a 13 or 14-year-old. Just a couple years older than that myself, I'm not certain how I would do that. Expected to go back into that school that had just been shattered, and the sense of safety shattered there, even if it's an administrator. And at this point, we don't know the circumstances, right? I don't believe we've heard from any eyewitness about who the suspected shooter may have been, whether it's another student or someone not connected with the school. We've seen instances where violence visits school campuses by someone who has nothing to do with the school. But I don't believe at this point we've heard from anyone about who the suspected shooter may be that is now in custody, according to police. But I think we have to think so much about these kids and their safety, not just physically, but now emotionally and mentally, about what they've seen, what they're going through, and how quickly they can get back to school as normal. Certainly we can imagine Yes Prep will do all it can to make these kids feel safe again, but I think we've seen in school after school that is a tough thing to do. You can only do so much to physically secure a school, but how do you restore a kid's sense of safety?
And Ted, while you bring that up, I want to make sure folks at home know, because I've covered a lot of stories related to mental illness. This is something where you might want to seek help for your student, for your loved one. And please reach out. There are so many organizations out there offering free counseling. So I really hope that just, because this is hard, Melanie, this is not easy, especially if you're a young child whose brain is still developing. Make sure you reach out and get some help, please. And please reach out to me if you need to, and I'll point you in the right direction.
Absolutely, because you've got to imagine that one of the first things the school will do is bring in counselors and talk to these young people. But as Ted indicated, you know, you don't know what your child will take away from all of this, what they've seen, what they've done. And we are hearing, the good news is we're hearing that no students were injured. The bad news is that at least one administrator was injured and taken to the hospital. We don't know if that administrator was shot, if it was the glass that the student was talking about. But what we did hear in such a oh boy, just such a heartbreaking kind of note when we've talked to several of these students, is they say, you know, this isn't supposed to happen here. We're supposed to feel safe at school.
I saw it happen somewhere else.
Right, exactly.
I didn't think it would happen here.
Didn't it happen in Florida? Didn't it happen somewhere else? And perhaps the saddest statement here is even when they don't think it's going to happen to them, they are trained, they are told, they are taken through the paces that if something happens, this is what you need to do. And the fact that that even has to be in the back of your child's mind.
Or even as a parent.
Yes,
If you're looking for a school, I think if I was a parent, I would ask administrators, do you guys have an active shooter routine in progress?
A plan.
How crazy is that?
Absolutely. But you've got to ask, and we have to mention, Ted, this is a charter school. This is Yes Prep. It is part of a group of schools operated. So many of these students and their parents are very proud that they are able to get into this school and get an excellent education.
Of course.
Well, we have to mention it happens everywhere. It happens at the high end of the spectrum, you know, schools
Public
that are in
places
neighborhoods.
like malls.
Exactly. It just at this point, sadly enough, happens everywhere. And parents and students and administrators, teachers, frankly, all have to be prepared for that awful possibility.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, when we were talking to Micah, she did say, hey, just a few days ago, the school was practicing an active shooter situation, and now they had to sadly put that to the test.
Yeah, a drill that they all have to go through. We continue to see all these emergency vehicles here, a couple of different ambulances not running hot at this point, which is a good bit of news. That means that they're not taking, but we want to go immediately to a press conference right now. We're expecting to hear from the police chief, Chief Finner. And there he is.
A little bit back there if you would. Yeah, either sides. Chief, whenever you're ready, sir.
All right, thank y'all. Hey, thanks for your patience today. So at 11:46 a.m. at Prep High School, located at the 4400 block of Anderson Road, a call dropped, a shooting in progress call. Officers quickly arrived, set up a perimeter, thinking that it was a possible active shooter. Officers set up a rescue team. Once inside, they came upon the suspect who surrendered without incident. The suspect was armed with a rifle. He was a 25-year-old black male, former student of the school. When he came into the building, the front door, it's a glass door, it was locked. He gained entry by shooting through a glass door and immediately fired upon one of the employees of the school. The only thing I'm going to release right now, because we're still notifying Ken, he was a white male and he was an employee of the school. He sustained a gunshot wound to the back. My officers, I'm really proud to say, administered first aid, got him to the, HFD got him to the hospital. He's in serious condition. I think he's in surgery, so we're gonna pray that he's gonna be all right. Right now, that's all we have is one suspect, one individual shot. I wanna thank all our teams here. My leadership team, Harris County Sheriff's Department, HFD, everybody responded. You know, when we get a call at a school and we think it's an active shooter. But I'm really proud of the quick response of the officers. It could have been a lot worse. And to the parents, why it took so long to get over here, we always want to make sure we do a systematic search. Every classroom, every building, to make sure that nobody else is in there, because sometimes you think it could be one suspect and it can be another one. So we wanted to be sure of that. And we're glad to say that the building is secure. Kids are coming back in. And also, we're going to set up where the parents can come and pick them up, but just look for more directions on that. Any questions?
The staff member, did that staff member confront the gunman?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't think he confronted him. I think that once the suspect fired through that glass window and came in, I was told that he immediately fired upon that gentleman.
How were you able to identify that he was a former student so quickly? He's 25.
Well, because of what the school officials told us.
What did they tell you?
That he's a former student. Yes, ma'am.
They didn't know if he had a beef with a person?
No, ma'am. I got you. Yeah, no, ma'am.
Have they had prior incidents with this individual?
I'm not sure yet. That's part of the investigation. The most important thing is, I think we have over 1,000 students, I was told, and no students are hurt. We're praying for the employee of the school, and I think that's a good day. I think it's a good day, considering.
Could you confirm that the senior members, could you say administrator, that could include the vice principal?
I don't know who it is right now. They hadn't told me if it's a teacher, administrator, or anything. Yeah.
Can you talk parent to those who are watching this on a live stream? I just talked to a 13-year-old who, one, heard the shooting, and then as she was being evacuated by police, walked past a little bit of this gruesome scene. Parents might be trying to have a conversation with their students this afternoon. How do you walk through that?
It's tough. First of all, I don't think any kid or anybody should witness this, but it's the world that we live in. The most important thing, a lot of times people don't seek the help. If any kids or any school administrator, anybody that's involved with this, seek some help through counseling. I recommend that, and I know the school and anything that the police department and all the other agencies can do to assist. We want to make sure the kids get counseling.
Chief, the students told us that they actually drilled this type of scenario just 2 days ago. How important do you think that was?
I think it's very important, and also with all of our agencies, our brother and sister agencies around this county, you need to practice. You don't want anything like this to happen, but I want to commend those students. Every student I seen coming out, they were calm. The administrators, the teachers, outstanding job, and I want to commend them, and it speaks to that. They train for it. So thank you.
Did he have any other guns on him or?
One rifle, what we know of right now.
What hospital was he in?
I never give out hospitals.
Med
Yeah,
center?
medical center. Yes, ma'am. All right.
Did he say anything to your officers when he surrendered?
I wasn't told that he said anything. I know he surrendered without incident. Okay.
Do you have the response time? Just how quickly we're talking about? Because 1,000 kids. were in the school.
Within minutes. Few minutes.
And then just really
Few more.
quickly, Chief, I mean, you talk about the quick training of the police officers. We mentioned the students who had just gone through this training 2 days prior, and yet all of these security measures in place, and this guy shot through the door to gain entry. Where do you go with that as a leader of the city?
Well, where I'm going to go with it, I'm going to tell everybody, like I always do, we need to look out for one another, but we live in a dangerous society, okay? So always be aware of your surroundings, but things happen, okay? And you can't prevent everything, but the response and the preparation and the training, I think it made it much better today. One more.
No, go ahead. I was going to ask if we have a Spanish speaker. This is a very highly populated Hispanic area. If we got somebody that can talk.
Yeah, we'll get somebody up, absolutely. Go ahead.
What kind of rifle?
I'm not sure, it's just a rifle. Yeah, I hadn't processed it. I've been on the scene just managing and making sure everybody's okay. And like I said, pray for that one school employee, but suspect is going to be okay, and we're going to try to determine what led to this, okay? All right, thank y'all.
Can we get it in Spanish, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have been listening to HPD Chief Troy Finner updating us on what they can at the moment with the entire incident that happened here at Yes Prep, the shooting. I'm joined now by Chauncey Glover, my co-anchor, and you have also been listening in. So want to give you guys a quick recap of what the chief just said. So he said it was about 11:46 a.m. when they got a call from the school that there was a shooting in progress. So of course, HPD rushed to the scene. They set up a perimeter, So they came across the suspect, a 25-year-old black male. They say a former student. He did surrender without incident, but he did have a rifle, and an administrator was shot there on campus. We know students were not injured. We know that they were able to answer the call very quickly. And of course, the chief saying they were happy the students got out safely. Let's listen into this parent.
Down 911, she said, "Mommy, they just told us to run and hide." And that's what she did. And I thank God she was fine.
You get that.
I thank God.
You get that text from your daughter. You never expect that.
You never, not in my wildest dreams. I think I'd be sitting here talking to you. But I'm gonna hold them a little tighter. And I'm gonna pray for everybody that was injured.
We saw you earlier. You were talking to her on the phone. You were talking to her on FaceTime. You knew she was okay, but
Yes.
something about just being able to see her face.
Just to have her face, just to touch her, just to lay eyes on her, just to know she's okay. She's okay. We shook up, but we okay. We okay. Thank you.
Is there anything that you want to tell us about what happened, or where? I understand.
Yes.
Would you mind giving me your first and last name?
Yolanda, and this is Bridget.
Okay. Will you spell Yolanda for me?
YOLANDA.
Clearly very distraught.
Yeah, and that's a scene out there at Yes Prep Southwest, that mother saying not in her wildest dreams that she ever thought that she would be experiencing this, getting the call from what's assumed to be her daughter there, saying that she's scared and she needs to come to the school. Once again, we just heard from HPD Police Chief Troy Finner telling us what happened, how all of this unfolded here this morning. This is what he describes. About 11:46 this morning, HPD, they were dispatched about a shooting there. We want to go right now to another parent that we're, or someone else we're talking to at this time. Let's listen in.
¿Cuál es su nombre, señora? Miriam, ¿nos podría describir? Vemos que su hija la tiene aquí al lado. Ella estaba en la escuela.
Okay, now once again, this is what the chief described. HPD dispatched out to this shooting around 11:46. They got reports of a shooting here at this school. According to the chief, the suspect, 25-year-old black male or former student, fired through the window there at the front of the school. We do know HPD did come across that suspect. According to the chief, the suspect did surrender without incident, but a school administrator was shot in the back and is now in surgery at a local hospital. We're told that school administrator is in serious condition right now. Once again, that suspect surrendering without incident, and thankfully no students were hurt here in this, and we're not hearing about any other injuries reported.
And Chauncey, when I was here with Melanie, we heard a lot of the students say, when we were leaving the campus, we saw shattered glass and blood. So we were wondering, what were they coming across? But now we know he shattered the window in front of the school to get inside, to gain entry, according to police. And unfortunately, an administrator was shot. So that's what those students were referring to, shattered glass and blood that they saw there.
And we just heard from that one mother talking about she never imagined she would have to go through this in her wildest dreams, and saying that she's going to hold her daughter, her baby, a little tighter. We want to go now to Ted Oberg, who is also watching all of this unfold. And Ted, you heard the police chief giving us a review of what went down here this morning.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I heard Chief Finner say, Chauncey, was that no kid should have to witness this, but the chief said, this is the world we live in. And boy, let that sink in for just a minute. The chief of America's fourth largest city admitting that this is the reality that our kids are being raised in. The mother that we talked to right after that, remember that, Chauncey? She said, Mommy, this is what her daughter told her, Mommy, they told us to run, just run and hide. Gosh, that's a hard thing to hear about what our kids are having to deal with in school these days, and we are just so thankful that only one administrator was hurt in all of this. But take a look at what has happened with school shootings in our country. Here we could look back from the folks at Everytown for Gun Safety, a group founded after the shootings in Newtown, Connecticut. This looks since 2016 up until right now about how many school shootings there have been. You see that giant spike in 2019 after several years of climbing, and then it drops in 2020, not because anything changed about the violence in America, but because kids weren't at school. That's the pandemic year. And then you might think that, oh, well, okay, it's continuing to get worse in 2021, but let's remember we still have 4 months to go, and we are about have as many right now as we did in all of 2020. The fact is, as kids are coming back to schoolhouses across America, school shootings are coming back to schoolhouses across America as well. And that is an unfortunate reality of, as Chief Finner says, the world we live in. It's a tough spot, and it's a tough thing to think that now this is another high school in the Houston area having to deal with a school shooting. It is not common in these instances, at least in the ones that we hear about most often, that it's a former student who returns, right? Let's keep in mind the suspect in this case now in custody, a 25-year-old former student. The chief wouldn't get into whatever he may have said at the scene or whatever past grievance there may have been. We have heard of other instances of gun violence at school having to do, between employees or between family members, and when a husband or wife may work at the school. But I don't believe we've often heard about former students returning to school campuses to commit acts of violence like this. That is certainly a unique thing in today's incident. But boy, when you think about the school shootings, we just had to hope that something was changing, but unfortunately it doesn't appear to be that way.
And Ted, you alluded to this, but the teachers, the school administrators, even the students, and especially the staff and police there, we're now in a society where they have to train for this day. What happened this morning, they go through special training now to prepare for this day. And
to point it out, they trained a few days ago before this happened.
Yeah, let's keep in mind today is October 1st, and it is probably a reality that most kids in most schools in the Houston area have already had their first lockdown drill this year as kids return to campus, sometimes in some instances for the first time in over a year. Most kids have probably been through that. It's state required that schools both have shooting plans and shooting drills, and I believe that is a requirement that extends to charter schools as well. But you talk about what teachers are faced with, Chauncey, and certainly this is part of their reality too, that they instantly know what to do. And we heard from so many eyewitnesses immediately as they were coming out of that school that their teachers had told them to get out of the hallway, get in the classroom, that the teachers knew what to do. And unfortunately, our kids do have to learn all of that. Unfortunately, it appears that they know as well what to do.
Yeah, and now that we know one person was shot, this would not be considered a mass shooting. I know we were talking about that early on. Ted, if you can break that down for us one more time.
Yeah, so it's certainly a school shooting, right? Violence on a school campus, but it wouldn't qualify as a mass shooting, which would be 4 or more people hurt in a single incident. So thankfully there was only the one person hurt. What it does appear though is that this person walked into the school shooting, right? Shot through the front class door to gain access to this school through a locked door. Keep in mind that simple fact that doors are now locked at school campuses is a direct result of all of the shootings that schools have had to deal with. That's a change in the last 22 years since Columbine, that schools now are locked down campuses during the day while kids are present. And so the piece that fits into, Myra, possibly is that the level of violence is increasing. The number of bullets fired in single instance is increasing, and that's certainly a sign of the mentality of shootings.
Ted, sorry to cut you off there, but thanks so much for referencing that for us.
We want to go now to listen to this student who was there inside of the school this morning when the shooting happened.
Hearing them talking about the principal had told them, put the gun down, please. And that's when more police came, and then I think it was 20 minutes later, they had came into my class saying, get in the line, go out, put your hands up and go outside. And when we were on our way outside, there was blood on the floor and the doors they shot up the doors.
What was that like being there? I mean, and hearing things and not knowing what was going on?
It was scary. It was scary.
And what is it like coming here? Is this some of your friends and family
members? That's my cousin, and that's my cousin too.
And y'all all go to the same school?
Yeah, we all go to the same school.
And all of you guys were in the same area, or were you in the same class?
I was downstairs with him and her, and she was upstairs, but we were the ones downstairs. And that's when we heard everything. That's when they put 6th and 7th grade to the gym, and they were the last ones to leave because she said that she heard everything.
And now, when you say that the person was wearing a mask, was it like a regular mask, like a face mask, or was it like a mask?
Oh, I don't know, because my friend didn't tell me, but she just told me that there was someone with a mask and a raincoat. It was black, and when we were getting out, I saw him. He had a black raincoat.
That must be scary. You're like when your friend comes in and
yes.
You know what's going on. And then, what grade are you in?
8th grade.
8th grade. Okay. And so y'all work together, you and your friend, in the same class, right?
Yes, me and my friend.
Such a traumatic event for that 8th grader there. Now, that was Roxy Bustamante. We also do have Micah Hathfield, who has been covering this along with us. Micah, I know you were listening to Troy Finner. Can you give us a quick recap of what we heard?
I sure can. I want to tell you, though, that the scene here has calmed down quite a bit from what it was earlier. It appears that all or most of the students have been reunited with their parents, and that's such a relief for these parents. We watched them out here so upset, crying. Even if they knew that their student was okay, they were still just wanting to see their face in person to confirm. But I want to recap for you what Chief Finner told us just a few minutes ago, and that is that they got a call at about 11:46 this morning to Yes Prep Southwest Campus. That's on Anderson and Hiram Clark. And it was in regards to a shooting in progress. He told us that police got here within a matter of minutes and set up a perimeter. When they went onto the school campus, Chief Finner says they came upon the suspect, who surrendered without incident. They tell us it was a 25-year-old former student who was armed with a rifle. When we were standing out here listening to parents talk, they were saying, how did this person get inside of the building? All the doors are locked. You have to be buzzed in. Well, Chief Finner tells us that the 25-year-old former student actually shot through the locked front door of the building, and that's how he was able to get inside. And then we're told that he fired upon an employee. They won't tell us who that employee is. We are told it is some sort of administrator, and that person was shot in the back and is at the hospital undergoing surgery, we're told by Chief Finner, in serious condition. The people on the scene were able to administer first aid to that administrator, and you never know in these sorts of situations if that could have saved that person's life. But Chief Finner tells us that they did a systematic search of all the classrooms, all the rooms in this school, just to make sure there was no one else involved, even though they did have that suspect in custody. They just wanted to make sure. And you've heard us say several times today that the students did an active shooter drill just in the last couple of days, and Chief Finner says he feels like that probably helped quite a bit, and law enforcement's quick reaction time as well. Their helicopter, Houston Police's helicopter, has been circling the schools, a couple of their helicopters, for quite a while. It does appear like they might be gone now. But exactly what happened inside of the school, those moments, how the former student came upon this administrator, why this happened, we don't know. Hopefully those details come out in the coming days, but we do know that only one person was hurt. They are in serious condition, and we're sending our best wishes to them and their doctors as they undergo that surgery.
Micah, before we let you go, have you seen any school administrators, a superintendent, anyone like that out there working alongside HPD?
There are so many law enforcement agencies out here right now. The Sheriff's Office is out here, Houston Fire is out here, Houston Police is out here. There's SWAT teams. You're looking at all of the emergency vehicles out here. A lot of people on the scene, and so I can't say that I have been able to identify someone as a school administrator, but that doesn't mean that they aren't out here, and I'm sure they are. This has been quite an undertaking. Chief Finner told us that there were about more than 1,000 students who attend Yes Prep Southwest, and it's the 6th through 12th grade campus. And so just think of having to get all of those students, hiding while this was going on, and then getting them all reunited with their parents. So many of them were extremely emotional coming out. I've said this earlier, with tear-stained faces, their parents extremely upset. They get that text from their student that, as a parent, I'm sure you never expect to get. And they all rushed over here. When I first arrived, it was all of Hiram Clark was just basically gridlocked traffic, with parents rushing up the street trying to see if their student was okay. But I can't say that I know if any Yes Prep administration has been out here, but it seems safe to assume that they probably have.
All right, Micah Hatfield there. Thank you so much. And all of our reporters out there describing a chaotic scene unfolding here at Yes Prep Southwest this morning at 11:46, when police say this former student, 25-year-old male, enters the school, shooting through a window, and then also coming in contact with HPD after firing a shot. We know an administrator was shot in the back and is in surgery right now, listed in serious condition at a local hospital. But Chief Finner also confirming that suspect did surrender without incident, and thankfully no other injuries have been reported and no students were hurt. Of course, we're going to continue to stay on this and digging for the very latest information. You can go to abc13.com or check out our streaming services, and we'll be back here live on the news at 3 o'clock for the very latest on this local school shooting.
For Chauncey Glover, I'm Mayra Moreno. Thank you so much.
This has been breaking news from ABC 13. For more information, head to abc13.com or open our ABC 13 News app.
5016. Call me or whatever. Thank you so much for speaking with me. Sorry, I feel like I'm
Sinking.
Okay.
You can take it.
Okay. Okay. Me.
Here and I have stood up in the past, and I'm a minister. I brought confirmation for you to see that I'm a licensed minister, okay?
And spell your first name for me.
Lillian
Last name again?
Jones, Jones.
And your position.
Say it again.
Where are you affiliated with, or your position?
Second Baptist Church, okay? I came down here because I want to issue an order for the disorder. And it's just real simple, 2 + 7. The words are stop it, or we will help you stop it. I can talk further if you want, but that's
Are you referring to the violence, the
the
gun violence that's
the
happening?
violence, period, in Houston. It has to stop. And we as a community has to help stop it. The churches have to get involved. The parents are already involved. Everyone must get involved to stop it. Just 2 words, stop it, or we'll help you stop it. When I say we, I'm affiliated with Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church, Second Baptist. We have enough people to stop it. The police department can't do it all. We have to stop it. Ministers, where are you? We have to get involved. We've got to take care of our children. It's just that simple. It's not hard. Stop it. People with guns out here doing ugly things to these innocent children. Stop it. And I mean it. Stop it.
And now, just hearing in specific with this incident, you can see these children are traumatized.
They're traumatized. I saw them crying. Everybody's trying to work. You're working now. I had just gotten off from work. We're over in Louisiana trying to help clean up. We're trying to help people here. And then we have some idiot who probably wasn't working, or I'm not going to judge him, but he definitely needed help. We've got to wrap our arms around this thing and just commit to stopping it. I've issued the order. Stop it.
And now hearing, though, that the alleged suspect is, a former student who walked in, obviously armed, what's your reaction hearing that after seeing these children crying?
He was a former student. Obviously, he was disturbed. Did he have someone to talk to? Are we giving good conversation to others? Are we listening? Are we just sending these children and people on this planet in circles and circles, and they don't know what to do except come into a school and kill these innocent people? We've got to get a grip on this thing. And it starts with me. It starts with you. It starts with him. It starts with everyone. But the main thing is to stop it. Let's stop it and let's talk. Let's do something. Do we need to have community meetings? Do we need to have church meetings? Do we need to have meetings out here? I don't know. But it starts with us. One person can start it. Get this conversation going. We've got to stop this madness. We've got to stop it. And I don't want a pity, mamby-pamby conversation about, oh, the children are traumatized and this and that. They have to think about coming back to school. Would you want to come back to school and somebody came up and shot up people? We've got to stop it. We're tearing this planet down. Us, we the people, us. I'm not looking for anybody else to stop it. I'm not going to the police department. I'm not going to call my city council person. I'm not calling the president. I'm not doing that. Starts with me. That's why I got in my car and came down here. Be very easy for me to sit back and watch Channel 13 and do nothing. Okay, what are we going to do about this? What can I do? I'm going to start with this woman in the mirror. What can I do? And the way I find out is talk to God. He said, go down and tell them to stop it. Stop it, or we will help you stop it. Who are we? I don't know. It's more than me. It's a lot of we's out here. We must stop it. That's the key word. Stop it, or we will help you stop it.
Well, thank you so much for being with me and for waiting with me. I really appreciate it.
You gotta back up. Back up. Just run him over. If he nudges him enough, that was. Anything? Did they say what they want? What time is it? No, I was just. you just stay there in your little red dress. I don't know, kiddo.
I don't know either. I don't know what's taking them so long trying to figure this out.
I'm gonna go to the car and ingest, because I don't know if they want. You know?